Well, we know just about every player that's going to be in the LCS, at least at the top level. And I think it's time that we start looking at where do our players rank in comparison to the rest. Let's talk some TSM. Hello everybody and welcome back to Talking TSM, and that's correct. It's time for us to start looking at the ranks of our players compared to everybody else's, and then later on, obviously, I will do where our team ranks as well. And we're going to be starting off this series in the top lane. So, my question of the day for you is, where do you rank solo amongst the LCS top laners? Please make sure before you watch the rest of this video that you let me know in the comments section below. Other than that, let's just jump into this. As a reminder, in case if you don't remember for some reason, there are 10 teams in the LCS, and yes, TSM are one of them for now. And Solo is going to be our top laner yet again this year. And I say yet again because we signed him about halfway through the summer split last year. There were a lot of questions about Sol, where, all these other players were going to go. And they decided that Solo was going to be the guy for next year. And I think that Solo is a pretty good player, all things considered. But when we're kind of looking at what he's going to end up being up against, I just really struggle to kind of figure out where I'm going to place him, to be honest with you. So I'm going to quickly run through the other players and the teams that they're going to be on, right? So you have 100 Thieves with Tenacity, at least that's the rumors right now. You have CLG with Dokla, Cloud9 with Fudge. We have Someday going over to Evil Geniuses, Impact apparently going over to FlyQuest, Summit heading to Team Liquid, which that was a pretty big surprise, Armut going to Dignitas, Licorice staying on Golden Guardians, and Revenge hanging out with Immortals, right? And so when you're taking that list and you're thinking of where are we going to be putting Solo, I really think there are 5 players that I would for sure be putting in no particular order ahead of him. I think you're putting Fudge there. I think you're obviously putting Impact someday. I think Summit still as well. And Tenacity. I would say those are the 5 players that I was for sure putting ahead of him. And then I think the bottom 5 top laners, in, again, no particular order, Licorice, Dokla, Revenge, Solo, and Armut. Okay, so those are kind of my top 5s and bottom 5s. I will eventually be releasing my full rankings on thegamehouse.com. You can check that out. I won't have a link in the description yet because I haven't written that yet, but I'll have that all put together probably either later this week or, here in a couple weeks once the rosters are a little bit more finalized. And along with that, I will also be doing a new video series, which you guys will have to check out here. We'll see maybe in a couple weeks. I don't know yet. I haven't officially figured that out, but that's a little teaser for you. Moving on here. Again, I do think, that bottom 5 is where I'm at. And I will say that I don't think there's a single bad top laner in the LCS. And what I mean by that is I don't see a massive weak link player, right? I think all of them are able to hold their own at a minimum and have skills that vary for each of them. When I look at Armut, obviously he's the Gnar god, right? He can play Gnar, but he can play other champions and can be useful. He's a solid weak side player, but he can be a little bit, rough around the edges at time. So, where I don't know exactly where to put him yet either. I've been working on my tier list for him, and he's still one I'm kind of wrestling with. But then you have Dokla. We all know big Dokes can really play strong side characters well, but I think that can sometimes be at a detriment to his team, as if he doesn't get ahead, then he's normally really far behind, and I don't think he loves to play weak side tanks as much as some of the other players here. Revenge, I think a similar player to Dokla, maybe not as good, but is maybe a tiny bit more consistent, especially more recently. And then you have Licorice, who's consistently going to do pretty well in lane, but really struggles to kind of, I think, adapt that and move his advantages to the rest of the team. So where does that put Solo? We know what Solo is. Solo is, I mean, he lives up to his name. You're putting him in that solo lane, and he's going to be able to hold things down. He is going to be able to really at least stay even. And I think that that's great, but from everything I'm hearing, we might be heading into a top lane carry type of meta, which worries me for TSM because I don't know that Solo is particularly great in that, right? He's rarely, unless if he's playing something like an Ornn, right, going to be able to get ahead in lane. He's rarely going to be able to take a lane advantage and move it out to the rest of the map, right? And while that is okay in certain metas, this can be problematic if topside is very strong, because when you're having to go against Someday, Impact, Summit, Fudge, Tenacity, Dokla, and Revenge, right? A lot of really aggressive top laners, that is going to be a bit of an issue for Solo. That being said, I do think that if anybody is able to just be a brick wall and absorb a lot of pressure, absorb a lot of attention, and still be able to at least maybe neutralize the top laner, that does give him a very interesting spot within the space. While he may not be able to carry himself, he may allow for the rest of your team to carry by not allowing that top laner to carry, right? And I think that we've seen that from him, and I just wish there was a stronger carry option on TSM, because I think his value would be higher, but I'm trying to rank them individually, not just based on how much I think they're going to be able to help the team. And when I am looking at that, I am unfortunately going to have to put Solo at 8. I currently have him above Revenge, and I currently have him above Licorice. And I think it's for these reasons that I was just stating, right? I do think that he can absorb a lot of pressure. I think that he is somebody who is going to play for the team, and I believe that that is going to allow not only his stats to look better, but I also think you're not going to lose top lane. And when you are able to understand that as a team and know that you have a really stable player in one lane, that can allow you to do a lot of other things around the rest of the map. That can allow for Boogie to go around and try to get Maple fed or try to get Neo fed instead, right? And on the occasion that they do try to play towards Solo, I think that he may be able to catch some people off guard. I still think mechanically that he is fine. I think that his brain is his biggest asset for this team, and I think that when just comparing him to Revenge and Licorice, who I really like both of those players. Again, I don't think that they are bad players by any stretch, but I do think comparatively to the rest of the LCS, I think that these are our bottom 3 top laners right now. You could make an argument again for Armut, maybe Dokla, but I do think that, you know, these 3 are they're fine. And Solo's a part of that they're fine group, but he's not going to be a whole lot more than that. And it's unfortunate, and you know, because I do think that he was better than I thought he was going to be last year. And I took that into consideration. I really did. But there are just some parts of him that I'm worried about, and I don't think without a consistent carry on TSM, with a meta that may be favoring, you know, top lane aggression, those 2 things don't really play into Solo's favor, and we're just going to have to hope that he can kind of be a black hole and just absorb all the pressure, all of the aggressiveness that's going to be coming from all the different top laners. But hey, you know, I'm sure a lot of you think I'm wrong. Please let me know, like I said, in the comments section below. Check out any of the other videos that we have going on. There's going to be more in this series, you know, where I'm going lane by lane, position by position. And I also put one out about our coach Chawi and what my expectations are for him. So make sure you click on one of those. And other than that, I'll catch you guys on the next one.